The next game, Texans at the Bears. This line's a pick 'em. The Texans open at -3, and this line got dragged down all the way to pick 'em. So it looks like the sharps are on the Bears. Who do you like in this game?
I like the Texans. I don't get the love for the Bears. Like, I get it. Their offense was good against the Lions, but it's also the Lions, and the Lions are horrible against the run. They had so much trouble containing David Montgomery and Cordero Patterson. Like, it was absurd. And they've given up 23 touchdowns to running backs on the year. Second most in the NFL is 16. So that's just how bad Detroit is against running backs. Houston, I will say this, not much better in terms of yardage. They allowed the most yardage to running backs in the NFL. But the thing about that is they don't allow as many touchdowns, and they're better in the red zone, I think, because J.J. Watt can get a little bit of pressure. I think that the Texans, they're coming off that loss to the Colts that they're going to be feeling a little sorry about because, you know, they had a chance to go up late, and Deshaun Watson and Nick Martin had a disconnect on the snap, and that ended the game because the Colts recovered it. So they could come into this game deflated, but I actually think it might motivate them to, you know, be like, oh, we almost won that game. We should have won that game. Let's come out and win this game. Because I think Romeo Crennel's done a good job with that. And the Bears defense just hasn't been playing well lately. They're not that banged up, but I don't trust them right now. I think they're quitting on a lame duck coach. And I don't want to trust Trubisky at this point. You know, picking head to head, if I have to pick Deshaun Watson or Mitch Trubisky, give me Watson every time. Like, Trubisky just could implode at any point, especially if the running game isn't as strong as I'm expecting it to be for Chicago. One of the reasons they did well against Detroit was because they were able to run like crazy. So I'll be on Houston in this one for probably for 2 to 3 units. I think the Texans are in better shape than the Bears, and with Kiki Cutie stepping up and Chad Hansen playing surprisingly well, I think that their receiving core is okay, so their only concern really without Will Fuller and Bradley Roby is the secondary.
I never thought I'd suggest Chad Hansen as an ad on the ad drop page, but this is 2020, I guess. I think that I was initially going to go with the Bears in this game, just based on how that ended, and like you talked about how they might be deflated. Just like an image I can't get out of my mind is Deshaun Watson sitting on the sideline by himself with a towel over his head, just like completely demoralized by that, because they were going to win the game. Like, they're at the goal line. They had multiple downs to get into the end zone, and you have to trust that Deshaun Watson was going to get them there. And there was an errant fumble. Like, Watson had a chance to get it, but it was just it was a bad snap, I should say. Like, Watson had a chance to get it, but he just didn't. And, you know, that kind of ended their playoff aspirations because they're 4-8 now. And something I like to do is go against the team that just got eliminated from the playoffs, basically. You know, I know that they're not mathematically eliminated, but they can't get into the playoffs at 8-8. Like, it's just not going to happen. So that's my reasoning for wanting to go with the Bears. And then just suddenly like dawned on me. I remember last year's game where the Chiefs played at the Bears, and Patrick Mahomes just went nuts because he was very salty about the Bears not drafting him in the 2017 draft. He even like counted the number of picks that he had to wait to be drafted. Deshaun Watson's in the same boat, right? Like, the Bears had a chance to draft Watson and they didn't. And like, according to reports, they didn't even meet with Watson. So Watson has to be angry about that. And if he even has like half the chip on his shoulder that Mahomes carries around with him, like, he's going to want to go nuts against this team. And I think his teammates love him enough to want to get him the win. So that's my thesis for going with the Texans. I don't love this game because, you know, Houston's defense is in shambles with their cornerbacks are just terrible. Like, their best corner is Vernon Hargreaves. Like, that's just miserable. But I still like the Texans for that reason. I think they're going to be motivated for Watson.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And I actually think about the end of the Bears game. The Bears had a chance to win that game. They had the ball deep in their own territory, and Trubisky fumbles the ball at the 5-yard line. The Lions recover. They score the go-ahead touchdown. The Bears don't get out in front. I think the Bears players might look at this in the quarterback situation and the coaching situation, just look at it and say, man, we got nothing here. Like, we started the year 5-1, and now we have we can't win a game against the Lions because our quarterback's fumbling at his own 5-yard line. So I think that might play into it too. Like, they might be demoralized too. So I agree with your thesis. I love the point about the Watson versus Trubisky. And I think if Watson rallies his teammates, I don't think Trubisky's going to be able to get the same clout after he basically blew a game for them.
Yeah, that was so bad. The Bears were up 3 or 10 in like at every stage of that game, barring except for the beginning. And the fact that they blew that game, I was shocked. Like I thought the Bears were gonna push, and they lost. The only reason I suspect they might not quit is because they're only a game out of the wild card spot of the seventh seed. But I think you make a good point. Like the Bears, I think they know that nothing's going to come of the season, so they might be demoralized too. I think you're right about that.